And on today's show, how the millennial generation approaches money in the most unique way. Part 5 of this week's series on selling across generations with registered investment advisors and certified financial planners, Rob Odell and Heather Coulter. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Innsmark, Life Specs, and Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 5, Rob and Heather.
Thank you.
Boy, all this week we're talk about parsing your practice based on generations, which is exactly what we're doing here. And now we have drifted into the millennials. Now this date, give me the demographic date on this again.
It would be 1980 to 2000.
So wow, that's a big swap.
20 years. That's what a generation is.
Well, that's a huge swap because the other ones are a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Well, about 20 years. Well, generation about 20.
So now we talked about X years last year. Yesterday, how big are they?
They're about 16 years.
16 years. So is this the longest and largest generation?
This is the largest. Yes. Yeah, largest.
And the demarcation line is 2000.
Yeah, 2000 is the cutoff. And there's another generation called the iGen, like iPhone, little iGen. Research is being done as we talk on that generation, and they're really not in the marketplace yet since they're.
Now, I kind of have to say, just as a boomer, I was kind of shocked by some of the characteristics of the Xers. What kind of things are we looking at when we talk about the millennials?
Oh, millennials are different.
They're much different. Let's go to the car commercials.
And you mean different?
I would think so.
I read the majority of an article online about how older people are becoming more and more antisocial. So I was really aggressive with my parents about joining Facebook. My parents are up to 19 friends now. I have 687 friends. This is living. What? That is not a real puppy. That's too small to be a real puppy.
Toyota Venza. Keep on rolling.
So this is the millennial generation. They're very connected with their parents. Who are their parents? Let's talk about that first of all. The parents to this generation are primarily baby boomers and early Gen Xers.
Yes, Gen Xers.
They've created this generation, and they're known as the special generation.
Since the moment they entered into this world, they've had a video camera right on them.
And life's a stage for them, and they've been called special by mom and dad. Not in the same context that their parents were called special by their grandparents. They were called special because they meant it, not special or something.
Yeah, they participate in even just a sport. Even they get 11th place, they get a ribbon. You know, they get patted on the back for just participating, and they're always winners. They're told they're always a winner.
Right, right. This generation grew up, unlike the baby boomers, they grew up protected, programmed, and praised their entire life. They've been growing up that way. Now, we said about the boomers, they're friends with their children. This generation is friends with their parents. And they like community with their parents. And they have a lot of the similar attributes that mom and dad have.
Right, yes.
Is that because they still want to continue to be protected, programmed, and praised?
Yes.
So they're going back home to get it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, when I think about that generation, I mean, from my standpoint, and I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, but to me, the 11th place ribbon isn't really matching up to the reality of life.
Exactly.
And is that a problem for them to migrate into the society?
Absolutely, absolutely, Steve. That's what's happening. Is they're going out into the real world, and they're just like, well, this isn't how I was programmed at home. I'm not being treated the same way, and they expect everything now, and they expect respect for just being who they are, or they want a certain pay, and not understand they have to earn it and work for it.
Right.
How is it managing? You manage assets under management. A part of that segment is with these people. How do you change your practice to be adaptable to this characteristic?
Well, that's it. You change your practice. Assets under management are probably not with this generation because they have student debt. They don't have the managed assets. And there's a whole networks of planners forming on either subscription, hourly basis to give financial advice to the older members of this generation who are becoming professionals, dentists, doctors, attorneys, making good cash flow, but they need transparent advice for where they're at in life, which might be getting married and starting families, the older members of this generation.
When you're talking about delaying life, Heather, what do you mean by delaying? I mean, how do you delay life?
Well, getting married and starting a family are much, much later. They're very addicted to technology. So everything that Rob just said, the things that they need when it comes to financial goals, it needs to be an app or something online that they can start to use to help them with their budgeting or their goals.
Boy, if the satellites ever go down, this generation is going to be in big trouble.
Yes.
Big goals, no plans. I mean, how do you have a big goal without a plan?
They seem to be big dreamers. You know, they're perceived as, in a Time magazine recently, on the front page, it showed a millennium laying there with the phone, and it said lazy. You know, lazy. They're just they're perceived as lazy. They have big dreams, but they don't understand how to do the actions to make that happen.
Well, you mentioned earlier student debt. We're talking about $1 trillion in student debt, of which I'm surprised that people haven't figured out that when they took these loans out, did they not know that they had to pay this back? Did they not know this was going to be kind of a burden on them?
Right. And for the successful members of this generation who have high-paying jobs because they went and received their education, we have one client who has several loans, and our whole job was to help them which one to attack first, to pay down, and then start a savings program.
In your practice, that's unique to your practice because not many RIAs that I'm aware of are doing debt management. They're looking for assets under management.
Correct.
They're not doing debt management.
Right.
Is that big in this
Well, this
sector?
is kind of a feeder system to building a practice. If you think about it, this is the largest generation in the marketplace, 85 million members here.
Wow.
And they're out there and they need financial services, and the successful ones will be our client one day if our firm's going to be around another decade or two. So you don't want to ignore this generation, but you want to change the methods on how you deliver the financial services.
If I'm going to deliver a messaging issue, because they're so addicted to technology, so my message is short, sweet, to the point, pithy, right on point, and it's coming what? Via text, via video, via
absolutely.
what?
Absolutely. It's all social media. So it's all on Tumblr and not even Twitter. It's a Snapchat and all those things, and it's all about them. So, and what happens, I think, in this world is they're completely creating a different society because they're very easily, because they're so technology driven, they can easily cut off what they don't want to hear. Does that make sense? Like they can switch on to something off, to something else if they don't want to hear it. They're just creating a whole different society when it comes to global warming and the student debt and technology.
What about the individuality? I mean, you bring this up, I'm thinking, golly, was I not an individual guy as a boomer? I guess not. These people are they orbiting around themselves? I mean, is this all they know?
They're kind of a pack creature. They do the same things their peers would do. For instance, tattoos. They all get tattoos, but the tattoo will be, to each person is a little bit different, or maybe much different, in that it's individual, unique to them. They all have the smartphones, but they might have a different wrapper around it, and they like to be recognized for that individuality.
Their planning goes the same way on their finances? They want to be treated uniquely? Or have you found they want that way, but actually there's some cookie-cutter solutions here that they could actually adopt? But
presented in a very individualistic way and be recognized that they're individuals and they're not just one of the masses.
We come back from the break, we're going to continue our, I have to say, I'm in kind of a stunning shock. I have these kids. I have kids like this.
You created some of them.
Wow, I guess I created some of these. And I guess it's now my problem to try, I guess it's not my problem to correct it, hopefully. We'll be right back after the break. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. Of course, we're with Heather and Rob. We're talking about this millennial generation. I have to say, Heather, this is way outside my learning curve, and even though I have kids in this generation. Tell me a little bit about these kids, because really now they're young adults and they're in real life and they're not getting ribbons for showing up in last place. I mean, right? So talk a little about that.
They have a hard time when they're going out into the real world because of that, because of the way that they were programmed in the real world. It's not like that when you mix all the generations. And they go into the workforce and they start to work with a baby boomer or a Gen X that's not treating them like they, were treated at home. They don't respond well to authoritative figures.
So they don't like authority, and yet those are the guys that were protecting them, programming them, and then telling them how wonderful they were.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then go in the workforce is not that way.
Okay, so they like texting. We know that, and they're all over it. And I have to tell you, I have migrated to learning how to text in 140 characters on a tweet, and as well as my texting. And even LinkedIn, which gives me a little more space on the billboard, about 200 characteristics, space and punctuation all in. Social media, these people live there. And there's names that you even brought up some today. I'm like, what was that?
The Snapchat and
Tumblr.
I know. They consider Facebook old school.
Old school. So are they gone from that?
Oh, the parents, absolutely. The parents and the grandparents are on Facebook. Now it's Snapchat and Tumblr, and it's all about them, where they put pictures and everything's about them.
Now, is that similar to the Pinterest move where women wanted more graphic and pictorial representation, not so much content?
I guess so.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, when you say don't lecture, I mean, I remember I didn't want to be lectured by my parents, and I'm sure I gave a few lectures to my kids over the years. But these people this is repulsive to them, right? Authority, talking about lecturing to people, telling them what they did wrong or whatever, that's not really a good thing.
They don't respond well.
No. Especially if you are in the workplace, you have one of these people working for you from this generation, as well as you're trying to sell them a good product or service that you might offer. Don't lecture. Give them the facts. Keep it concise. Keep it entertaining.
Okay, no more pontificating about the code.
Right.
Okay. They like community now. Is that because they're close? Remember, these are people that are talking to their parents, right? That are still in community. So is this part of the
older
relationship?
who were the older ones' parents? The boomers. The boomers like community. So they share many of the same attributes, mom and dad, who are boomers, especially if they're the older boomers, in that they tend to be a little more optimistic. They tend to be cause-driven. They want to be a part of a bigger purpose than just themselves. They're about that. They're pack creatures. They travel in packs.
They move in packs. So they go to prom with.
Well, I'm thinking that many of us advisors, and I have my own favorite software programs for full-blown planning on every venue, and I'm trying to figure out when you said about this individuality, because this brings me to recognize your individuality. Well, there's only so many moves on the checkerboard, and a lot of times my response to other clients, even though I'm not trying to pigeonhole them into something, but they pretty much, it fits certain motif. How do I change my normal planning tactic, which is these mechanical software uses that I use for planning, and then yet make it look individual? How do I do that?
It's more goal-based, their own personal individual goal-based more than cash flow intensive, like the older generations would be more of a budget and more in and out and things like that and project out for them. But this is more just goal-based and just understanding the basics.
Well, Heather, let me go back to you on that. I want to talk about this because I have found this to be an axiom. I don't know if that's just Steve looking through a bad lens, but you said budget. I said, what budget? Millennials, what budget are you talking about? I don't see them doing this at all. No. Am I misconstruing?
No, but they have to. I mean, they need to start looking at that. We need to help educate them on that. Whether, again, it's mint.com or some kind of app out there so they can start being aware of that because they have student loans to pay off.
Is that our number one issue as a planner that we have to learn how to address?
Budgeting would be right up there. I don't know if it's number one or not, but something as planners we can do for this generation is take a piece of paper and draw a line, a time spectrum. And you say, okay, right now in your late 20s, here are the things that are likely to happen to you. You might get married. You might start a family a few years down the road, so you need to think about debt pay down. Don't overspend. Don't overbuy a house. What are the things that are likely to happen in their 30s? They'll start having families. You might start thinking 529 plans. When they get to their 40s, chances are their income starts getting higher. They might buy the big house in their 40s. And so just draw it out so they can see what their future is and some of the key principles each time dispensation that they have, they should be focusing on.
When you roll this out to millennials, though, Rob, are they okay about jumping on a plan? You're kind of directing them now.
The older ones, absolutely, especially the ones who are making income now. They want to be responsible citizens, and as they start making some very good income, especially in the professional market, they're in their early 30s, they're doctor, dentist, lawyers, they're making six figures. Absolutely, they want to be prudent with their money, and it starts with a financial plan.
What about this parent endorsement? What are you talking about when you say about parental endorsement?
When it comes to maybe finding or trusting the advisor, they'll look to their parents. So if the parents trust a certain person, they'll refer them, and the children automatically trust that.
Now, isn't that funny? So if I heard you right, millennials are okay with mom and dad's endorsement, third-party endorsement, but maybe not Gen X.
With a mature generation, or senior generation,
right. But not Gen X.
No, not at all.
Okay, that's so strange. Yeah. Okay, well, when I'm looking at this, then I'm trying to extrapolate as an advisor. I'm wondering if I can shorten my message, get out on social media. Maybe I need to completely desert Facebook here and go to these new technologies. Yes. I'm trying not to pontificate. I'm trying to be pithy to the point and not come off. Lecturing clients or lecturing young people makes it really sound like we're pedantic, right?
And
that can be hurtful.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't want to try to become one of them either. Don't try using their words, their vernacular. Keep it yourself. And so what you see a lot of firms doing and advisors doing is hiring millennials to work with the millennial market. That's something that we see quite frequently happening.
Just to help with that communication.
Well, since you guys are Xers, would you, if your market started to expand into millennials, would you do that?
Absolutely.
I think so.
You would hire an RIA that was a millennial.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's your people looking for jobs today. There you go. Wheaton Wealth Partners, Wheaton, Illinois. So, well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just go out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant, and we'll see you next week.